This is how you do it. You just
Yeah.
Good morning, viewers. How's everybody
Good morning.
going? When they watch and replays, when people come back to watch later on, they're going to see this. Good morning. We've got Anthony in the building there, who's helping back end producing. Our guy Miz in the studio, who is a Saints fan and had an interesting evening thinking that his fullback caused the cancellation of a game.
Yeah.
We have Sam Webb, not really live at Ford Field, but
he totally is.
Looks like he's at Ford Field. I like how Sam goes to the games, as you can tell now. Last week he was in Arizona. This week he's at Ford Field, but he brings his chair.
Yeah.
Well, morning, my wife.
It looks like he's actually up in the press box as well too.
Yeah,
so, but it's only fitting.
Yeah, those are great.
we've seen Steve. We've seen Sam carry all his gear into a game.
Sure.
So would it be any different if he kind of like wheeled it all in his chair, like as that, to carry it, like
exactly.
his monopod and the camera? I'll never forget, because he's done it twice, carrying his stuff in 100-degree weather in Dallas. The first one in particular, I remember doing the pregame show and walking to the stadium, and it was like 105 degrees outside. Thankfully, you and Steve, you were with me. Right, for the first one, you sat in the stands, so we were just like walking in and just go to a game.
Oh yeah, no, that first game was rough in terms of weather. I mean, I like warm weather, but that game in 2012 was way over 100 and felt oppressive. But I didn't go into the stadium with you, Ira. Hi, Gracie. I didn't go into the stadium with you right away because I was determined to do a first in my life, and that was to ride the mechanical bull.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. At the alumni tailgate party.
Alumni tailgate party, I got to be the second to last rider to ride the bull.
Gentlemen, stand by.
I managed to stay on.
All right, Miz, I got stage here.
I got chafed in between the knees trying to squeeze, but.
Be live on radio here in a moment, gentlemen. So
all right.
Stand by.
Standing by. NFL film music.
Yep.
Love NFL film music. Can't help it. I'm a sucker.
Broadcasting through the MDEM studios in Ann Arbor, Michigan. This is the Sunday Countdown to Kickoff with Ira Weintraub, Sam Webb, Steve Clark, and Madison Relly. Today, the Detroit Lions return home after picking up their first win of the season. It's the Detroit Lions versus the New Orleans Saints. Kickoff from Ford Field is at 1 p.m. But first, get ready for the game with the Sunday Countdown to Kickoff. Presented by Brighton Ford on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA. The Ticket. Ann Arbor's home for the Detroit Lions and the National Football League. Now, here's your host for the Sunday Countdown to Kickoff, Ira Weintraub.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Good morning, everybody. This is the Sunday Countdown to Kickoff on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA. The Ticket online at WTKA.com. So a couple of technical difficulties real quick as we open things up. There we go. And here we roll, guys. It's myself, Sam Webb, Steve Clark. We're also on Ticket TV. You can watch us on Facebook. You can watch us on Twitter, which is on Periscope. You can watch us on YouTube as well. And we are here counting down to network coverage of a Lions game that's going to actually happen, which is great news. If you, throughout the evening, late night, last night, early this morning, if you were following along, maybe you didn't know it was going to, you thought maybe it wasn't going to happen, but here we are. So the Sunday Countdown to Kickoff presented by Brighton Ford. And here we are once again getting our football conversation fixed together with my guys, Sam Webb and Steve Clark. And if you're watching online, it looks like Sam Webb has wheeled his chair to Ford Field. Good morning, Sam Webb. How are you?
Doing good, man. It's we actually have a game to talk about. There was some question as to whether or not that was going to be the case because of COVID. I mean, the NFL had done and has done, let's be clear, the NFL has done a remarkable job when it comes to keeping the virus from spreading rampantly, despite not being in a bubble. Up until this week, there were no COVID examples, no COVID issues. And now that's different as we see the Tennessee Titans, I think they're going to be out for a while as they had 2 more positive tests this morning. Now 9 players, 9 personnel people, 18 total. They've had 6 straight days with new COVID cases. You got to have at least two consecutive days with no new tests to open up the facilities. So they're out, and I think they're going to be out for a period of time. The Patriots now with Cam Newton coming up positive. There was a Chiefs player that came up positive as well. They postponed that game now until Monday or Tuesday, pending further tests. And, that game might be pushed down some more, depending on what comes of that. I mean, you got your quarterback who has in contact with everyone in the Patriots case that is positive. And then the Lions, this would have been the first case of a player traveling on a plane having COVID. Now he gets here. He took what I assume was a rapid test. Probably that Abbott test came back positive. They gave him a confirmatory test, an experience that I'm very familiar with, and it came back negative, thus deeming that first test a false positive, ringing the alarms unnecessarily. Fortunately, crisis averted. Game today, Steve Clark.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of when you don't get any documented cases within your league, a certain natural level of complacency starts to hit. You hear about the Raiders, and Darren Waller was having a benefit that was attended by 10 Raiders members that weren't exactly mask compliant, and that struck some concern. And I think it's a natural thing that when you don't hear any news, you start to let your guard down a little bit. And I think that's happened in the last couple of weeks, and all of a sudden you're seeing these little cases have come up. Hopefully the NFL, the league, will be able to survive this little off rush of COVID in a situation. The Tennessee Titans is another story, but with so many different cases and so many different teams, I think people are going to realize, you have to be strict throughout the entire season if you want this season to go along without being in a bubble.
So here we are, Sam Webb. It's Matthew Stafford, and Michael Burton, all in the same category, getting false positives, but we've seen how it impacts or can impact. And in the case with Burton with the Saints, this is a case where the protocols work, right? Where the protocols are working because you get the positive, and then everything else. Now, what do you do? And you take steps A, B, and C. They figure out it's a false positive by all the other testing that they do, and they're fine. In Tennessee's case, it kind of sounds like the protocols are working. It's that players or others are not necessarily following the protocols, but they've now done the lockdown, and they'll go from there. As you said, Sam, we'll see how that goes over the next couple of days. A lot of things still up in the air. For us, just kind of a schedule update so people know we have this show this week. Next week's a Lions bye week, which we're actually going to get more into that because maybe that the win last week helped our the management and staffing, the upper management part of the team survive. But after that, we have a Sunday show on October 18th, the Lions and the Jaguars. And then in 20 days from now, we switch to Saturdays as college football resumes here in the state of Michigan with the return of Big Ten football. Fingers crossed that we will get to that point in 20 days. And real quickly, before we get to what happened last week with the Lions, we're going to see today is we're obviously going to preview a lot of NFL action. Yesterday, another crazy day in the national football and the NCAA, Sam Webb. And I see a certain coach in Oklahoma that we hear all the time here. Got to play your own quarterback. You can't win with transfers. But what's up with Oklahoma? They seem to only win with transfer quarterbacks.
Yeah, absolutely right. Look, Spencer Rattler, a key, crucial mistake down the stretch against Iowa State. This is a team that is used to just being able to win the track meets, and so far this season hasn't been the case. Do they have a quarterback that can play otherworldly and lead them on those track meets? And Spencer Rattler isn't there yet. Number one quarterback in the country, though he may be, still a guy that this is his first rodeo. And it was bound to catch up with them at some point to have a quarterback play human. I mean, they haven't had a quarterback play like a human here lately as these transfer guys. And in the case of Jalen Hurts, a guy who had a wealth of experience, championship experience when he came in. So it's, this to me is a course correction. You just don't, the kind of quarterbacking they've had at Oklahoma, Steve. I mean, who has that? Who has quarterbacking that elite year after year with different guys? So I'm not surprised that that finally, they are starting to see talented he may be, his inexperience catch up with him, and they've dropped a couple. I'm still not down on Lincoln Riley, though. I still love Lincoln Riley as an NFL possibility if if Eric Bieniemy doesn't work out for the Lions.
Well, the big story here is Oklahoma is out of the playoff. They're 0-2. They're not coming back to be a factor in a shortened season where they're going to make the 14 playoff. And the people who are happiest the most right now, the Pac-12.
Yeah, the Big 12. The Big 12 isn't going to be there at all. I mean, Texas is not a playoff team.
Well, they lost to TCU yesterday as well. So, I mean, the Pac-12 is ecstatic because they might finally be able to get a team in there. It opens the door for the Big Ten, and Notre Dame is absolutely thrilled with the idea that they could probably go through the ACC, lose to Clemson, and still be a player because they don't have to worry, probably don't have to worry about a Big 12 team at all. They certainly don't have to worry about the favorite in Oklahoma being there.
They got to worry about getting on the field. I mean, you got COVID issues at Notre Dame, and maybe if the president doesn't act like a numbskull and sets the right example, and I mean the president of Notre Dame doesn't act like a numbskull and sets the right example for his campus, his team, his coaches, maybe they will follow suit over there at Notre Dame and get some of these issues corrected. Because that to me, what is it? The line Ira attitude reflects leadership, right? So maybe you've had some lax sort of behavior at Notre Dame because their president. I mean, the president is setting a horrible example there, coming down with COVID due to lax attitude. And that's something that in the NFL, they're talking about punishing the Tennessee Titans for that, Steve Clark. So back to your point, I know you're making a point about Notre Dame. Let's see Notre Dame get over these COVID issues and get on the field.
All right, guys, that gets us to today. We're back to obviously talking NFL football. As the Lions, Sam, last week they got a win, so congratulations. Matt Patricia now has as many wins as Rod Marinelli as the head coach of the Detroit Lions, and he's only 5 wins away, Sam. 5 wins, and he can, if he goes 5-4, Sam, if Matt Patricia goes 5-4 in the next 9 games, he will tie Steve Mariucci with a 15-28 record with the Detroit Lions. So Matt Patricia is moving up the boards now after the win last week.
You know what? When you lose, you win, Steve. I mean, I've said my piece on this. I don't think the Lions are a serious contender for the play. Certainly not a serious contender for a championship. I don't think they're a serious playoff team. If they made the playoffs, certainly it would be a major accomplishment. I just don't think they have the horses to do so. You would need some things to fall into place, like this week. Maybe all these Saints being injured going to give the Lions an opportunity to win this game. Unfortunately, Steve, I just think that who they are as a team will ultimately tether them to being, outside the playoffs. You might get a bounce this week and not have Mike Thomas and Marshawn Lattimore and who else? Janoris Jenkins. You might get a bounce like that here or there, but ultimately, I just think they're going to have too many L's to be in the playoffs. And if you don't have enough L's to be in the playoffs, then to me, as I said last week, 8 or 9 losses, so freaking what? Lose the kid and caboodle so we can get a good pick out of this.
Well, Sam and I are on the same page in this one, and you can't expect, one Lions win at Arizona to change everybody's mindset about where the Lions are going in terms of direction. But I do have to tell everybody they did win last Sunday, and they had to do it. They had to earn it in a certain way. So how did that happen? I mean, the Lions didn't have a single takeaway in the first 2 games of the year, but got 3 interceptions off Kyler Murray. The Lions had a short field twice off those picks and another one on a punt return, and they scored on all 3 of their possessions on that. The Lions score on the final possession of each half. It's something Matt Patricia emphasized against the Packers. The execution in that week was horrible in the halves for the Lions, but they got more what they wanted to and they aimed for against the Cardinals. Now, the Lions need a better touchdown to field goal ratio this week than they did last week. They had 2 touchdowns and 4 field goals. Probably not going to cut it against the New Orleans Saints today, though.
And speaking of that, the New Orleans Saints come to town with the win, Sam. Before we get to the matchup today, because we talked about this over the last couple of weeks, the Quinn Patricia status report essentially is if they had lost last week and if they had lost then this week and we're 0-4, we had this conversation for many weeks now about going to the bye week. I'm going to guess that from that part of the conversation, whether it should or shouldn't matter, it probably does quiet that conversation, at least for the bye week, and it slows down the process that you and I were talking about. Now, if they win today, then maybe you really do have a different conversation because you're now talking about a team that's, gotten back to 2-2 and whatnot. But if they lose the game today, is it just slowing down the inevitable, or I don't know, what's the scenario now that they picked up the win?
To me, 9-7 or you're done. You got to be as good as the team was when you found it, when you took it over and you said, all right, we are going to make this better. And I won't even hold them to being better right now because they went so far in the hole. Just get me back to even. And to me, even is 9-7. It's not, 7-9 doesn't cut it. 500 doesn't cut it. Put me where you were or where this team was when you found the franchise. When you fired Jim Caldwell, it was because you said that we need to take the next step. Just run in place right now because you've backslid so much that I have extreme doubt about their ability to get back to that point. But if they do it, I'm willing to set aside what it will still be lingering doubts for me. Even if they went 9-7, I would still question, like, man, was this them or is this just the circumstance in the league this year? That would be a serious question for me. But I'd be willing to set those aside and say, hey, you earned an opportunity to build on that 9-7 season. But Steve, short of that, I think the Lions should go in a different direction.
Well, if we all think that the Lions, for Matt Patricia to save his job, he's got to make the playoffs. If we're all under that assumption, how do you get there? And when you look at the NFL right now, you don't have to worry about as a wild card beating anybody in the NFC East because Dallas is going to win that division and everybody else stinks. What you have after that is you either have the loser of the Saints-Bucks in the South, then you've got the West, okay, which is loaded between Seattle, who may win the division, the LA Rams, who may win the division, and then you have the Arizona Cardinals. Got the win over the Arizona Cardinals, but there's 3 wildcard teams out there, and somehow the Lions either have to beat the South runner-up and 2 teams out of the West and be second in their own division.
And you didn't even mention the team that went to the Super Bowl last year out of the West, who's injury-riddled at the moment, but you didn't even mention San Francisco. If they actually get some guys back, that's another team that you have to compete with.
So you have 3 out of the 4 teams really in the Western Division is good enough to make the playoffs. That's 2 right there, okay? And then you have the runner-up between the Saints and the Bucks. Somehow the Lions, to make the playoffs, has got to beat one of those 3 contenders, and that's the hard hurdle for me, the hard mental hurdle for me to get over right now.
Saints are 1-2, could come in to face the 1-2 Detroit Lions. Maybe not all 1-2 teams are created equal, but they're coming in off of back-to-back losses at Vegas when the Raiders opened their new stadium, and a game to the Packers. So a couple of good teams they played that they lost to. Obviously, they're still a pretty good offense with Brees. Not exactly the same with Thomas is not out there on the field. Kamara is a terrific player at running back, leading a really good running game, but they aren't necessarily stout on defense. So it does make for opportunities for the Detroit Lions offense this week, Sam.
Yeah, look, I look back at the Lions last week, and let me give them credit for a second. I thought that the Cardinals offense was going to run roughshod over them. I mean, one of the high octane attacks that pundits are looking to when you consider Kyler Murray, his ability on the ground. He surprisingly, was even more of a pocket passer last year than people expected him to be. Or pocket is the wrong way to put it. He threw the ball. He didn't run as much as people expected him to run last year. And now you give him a go-to weapon in DeAndre Hopkins, who is doing what DeAndre Hopkins has done in recent years. And it just is a recipe for the Lions to get run out of Arizona. And that didn't happen. And credit to the defense. Give that defense credit for going out, for forcing Kyler Murray into 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions. And these weren't the examples of a guy just, man, what was he doing type of deal. These were interceptions that the Lions forced, Steve Clark. So, I certainly, you look to the offense. I think Kenny Galladay's return was a major factor in the victory, even though his stats weren't huge, just his presence on the field, what it means. Adrian Peterson, the ageless one. I mean, the offense certainly had to get some things done, but they won that game on the strength of their defense last week, forcing Kyler Murray into 3 turnovers.
So I want to ask you a little bit more about that, Sam, because it was a question I was asking myself about these turnovers. Did the Lions have a pass rush? Because I didn't see it, and maybe I just wasn't looking hard enough. I didn't see a good Lions pass rush. I did see improved secondary play. I thought they cut off those angles to make those picks. Okudah making a nice interception. Collins, cutting out in front of the open receiver, I thought was a nice interception. But to me, I do kind of chalk this up to Kyler Murray because I don't think he was forced into bad throws. I just think he was off target, and the Lions secondary, who's been much maligned and deservingly so, had a much better week.
So the Jamie Collins interception, I think it was one of those deals where I think it's great play, Jamie Collins. I think it was terrific route recognition. Clearly he had seen that situation on film. He wound up jumping into they were in zone coverage. He wound up jumping into the route, into the slant. I believe it was Larry Fitzgerald was running. If Kyler Murray, if he's more right now with it, maybe it gets there. But you had a linebacker that was really on his game in that particular instance. So maybe it's a little bit on Kyler Murray and a little bit of a really good play by Jamie Collins, but I don't think it was just, oh man, what are you doing, Kyler Murray? And the Jeff Okudah interception, it was he got flushed. He was moving around a little bit, and as he was moving around, he wound up throwing it a little bit behind his receiver, and it gave Jeff Okudah a chance, who was, tracking Hopkins across the football field, which is, it's very easy to get lost in a scenario like that. And he didn't. He was at least enough in coverage that a ball a little bit behind Hopkins, he was able to dive and get the interception. So those two, again, could Kyler Murray have delivered crisper passes? Could he have been more on time with the throws? Sure, he could have, but I'm chalking those two especially up to really good defense.
All right, guys, we're going to get to the beginning of our pick segment. Also, a Survivor League question for Steve Clark we're going to get to as well when we continue here on the Sunday Countdown to Kickoff, getting you ready for Lions versus Saints, 1 o'clock kickoff at Ford Field. You're listening to Sports Talk 1050 WTK, The Ticket, and watching on Ticket TV.
The Saints.
Do I get a preview of that question?
Yeah.
I'll show you right here on the screen.
Shouting out to Robert, and I'll be back in a second.
Who is guaranteed to win today? I would say guaranteed to win today. Oh, wait, we're supposed to wait, right?
No, you can. I think you probably can.
I'm the one who usually announces.
I think Baltimore is guaranteed to win today.
And Robert follows up with this, looking at Bengals and Jaguars, taking Bengals. I'm growing feathers. I just may chicken out if
don't stay away from the Bengals and Jaguars.
Yeah, Steve is doing really well with the Jaguars this season, so you probably should listen to him on that.
What? Dude.
Hi, Poppy.
Hey, it's a 3-point game. I've forgotten who's the one who
is he picking straight up, or are they picking against?
It's with the spread. Oh no, it should be straight up. It should be straight up. I just want to find who it is again because I got to look at the comment section. Hold on. Oh, it's Robert. Okay. So, Robert, this is a 3-point game with the spread. Stay away from that. Pick an obvious winner. It's like the NCAA tournament. It's surviving.
He said who's a guarantee? So, I guess that's what confused me. Guaranteed winner to win the game or guaranteed winner against the spread?
It's a guaranteed win to win the game. And
you can't use the team again.
See, Rob, don't try to keep your high-powered teams. Don't.
Yeah.
If you want to win this thing, you don't. You're going to bow out early when you're picking field goal games. It doesn't work for many people. There is going to be plenty of touchdown spreads throughout your entire season. to be able to pick from week to week and have plenty of left over. Now, I'm not saying you have to waste your pick on Kansas City or waste your pick on Baltimore in any given week. Yeah, save those for those weeks where it's a little bit thin and you do have to go to a 5-point game. But there are several teams with double-digit favorites in this one, and I would early on go with those if you can.
So I want to give you a preview on Monday. If we are going to destroy the Notre Dame president, destroy him. If I spent all that time talking about Mike Leach, imagine what I'm going to do to Notre Dame's president. You got to be kidding me. How are you going to tell kids? How are you going to tell coaches? Hey, you know what, guys? We need masks and social distancing. If the president of the university is doing it, you're kidding. Now we understand why maybe, he was willing to push it a little bit at the beginning of the season, even though there was an outbreak out down there in South Bend, outbreak on campus. We'll see. We'll kind of wait and kind of go ahead. Now we understand why that happened. What a numbskull that guy is.
I remember when the question at one point in August and early September was, how can Notre Dame play football and the Big Ten can't? I think we kind of know the answer.
Now we know that.
Stand by, guys.
Now we know
Standing by.
All right, coming back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back to the Sunday Countdown to Kickoff here on Sports Talk 1050 WTK The Ticket and on Ticket TV. Ira Weintraub, Sam Webb, Steve Clark. We're going to, be joined by Madison Rowley in just a moment to start making our picks. But real quick, before we get into the pick segment, during the break, we had got a question. And if you want to watch us and hang out with us during all of our breaks, you can do that by going to Ticket TV. We're on Periscope. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. And if you want to do that, then you get to hear some of these conversations. But we also...
What is that? I can't tell, Ira. Did you pet it? Did you rub it? My uncle has a suit made of that material entirely.
We'll get to Madison in a moment, Steve Clark, but I want to let Steve Sam Webb. I want to let Steve real quickly give us a
he has the shoes,
a synopsis of what you just told to Robert. Survivor League suggestions and strategy about when you should use certain teams and not use teams.
So I'm not giving away any trade secrets here, but one of the things that you're looking for when you could only pick one game and it's straight up to win, it's not by point spread, it's straight up winning, is you look at point spread. You look at how huge the point spreads are, and that's going to be, one of your deciding factors about how you're going to pick it. The question always comes to is, whenever I pick a team like the Kansas City Chiefs or the Baltimore Ravens, teams who are expected to always win and have big point spreads, I can't use them again. So there is a tendency to play the long haul and start picking games by 3 or 4 points. I'm saying right now I've seen enough point spreads throughout the entire season, throughout the entire week through week 17. There is going to be a lot of double-digit spreads in multiple games, and I would say at this early point in the season, go ahead and waste it on a good team, or at least find a team that's a 6 to 7 point favorite, because you're going to have plenty of those to choose from through the rest of the season, even if you can't use that same team again.
Thank you, Steve Clark, for that great advice. Now let's get to our pick segment. Speaking of games with big point spreads, the first one is Baltimore at Washington, Sam Webb, and Washington is getting 2 touchdowns at home against my Ravens.
Yeah, man. And already in Washington, they're talking about is the Dwayne Haskins era over? I mean, they are seriously questioning whether that guy has it now. Another game with a few interceptions. And I think that at this point of his tenure, this is kind of make or break time. Because you heard Ron Rivera talking about, well, everyone else on the team, I mean, the defense playing like they deserve to win, and look at their defensive line, all the pressure they put on the quarterback, and all these guys look at they need to run the football a little bit more. They had a good yards per carry last week. Lean on your running game a little bit more, but clearly to me in this contest where you got a Ravens defense that got thrashed last week by Patrick Mahomes, Dwayne Haskins is not Patrick Mahomes. He can't take advantage of of the Ravens and some of the pressure in the same ways that Pat Mahomes did. I think they're going to get destroyed. I got the Ravens winning this game 30-13.
All right, Steve Clark, the leader in our pick segment, 28-18-1, has a 3-game lead over Sam and Madison going into our week 4 picks. Steve Clark, who do you have? Baltimore, Washington, with Washington getting 14 points at home.
My winning percentage is just a tad under 60%, so I'm going to get back above that 60% category from 59.6. Washington is going to win this game. Their new temporary logo features the big capital W on their helmet. But after this blowout, they should change it to a big capital L on their helmet against Baltimore.
So wait, I don't know who he picked. Who did he pick?
You took Baltimore. I think you said Washington.
I'm sorry. Let's cut that out. Start over. I'm taking Washington.
Okay, I was about to say.
14-point favorite. All right, the underdog. I'm still taking Washington.
Too many points for you. All right, Madison, Baltimore is at Washington. Washington getting 14.
I'm going to be honest. I picked these 5 seconds ago, and I'm going with Baltimore. Can't tell you why, but that's just how it's going to be this week.
Can you roar something before you give commentary? Like, I just feel like there should be like some.
Those who are listening on the radio cannot see the print that is on Madison's jacket as she is outside.
There should be some kind of drop.
Look, I'm visiting family. I'm like pretty much on Lake Michigan right now. You can see it back there.
Oh, there's the lake in the background. For those that are listening on the radio, we can't see it.
My best signal is outside, and it's cold out here.
But it's a little breezy. All right.
I have the fleece on today.
Arizona at Carolina. Steve Clark, Carolina getting 3 points at home from Kyler Murray in Arizona.
This is a really tough one. Arizona's top 3 safeties, they're injured. Top 3 safeties, they're not going to play. This doesn't make it an easy pick. There's no Christian McCaffrey either. So it's bombs away for Teddy Bridgewater based on those 2 scenarios. DeAndre Hopkins, also questionable. Don't know his status until warm-up in today's game. The Panthers organization, though, good news is they got a germ-zapping robot to knock out that COVID-19 in their locker room. So there shouldn't be any cases. Carolina's got a good pass rush defense. Kyler Murray, again, I don't think had his best game. Can he rebound? Sure. Games at home against Carolina, and they're getting 3. I'm just going to try to guess that this is going to be a 1-point game. So I'm going to go with Carolina in this one.
Sam, what would say you?
Yeah, I think Kyler Murray's going to get back on track, even if you don't have, even if you don't have DeAndre Hopkins out there, you still have Larry Fitzgerald, and lean on Kenyon Drake a little bit more. I know he hasn't reeled off the big stat, the big game yet, but I feel like with more emphasis that there's an opportunity there. He can catch the football out of the backfield. I look for Kyler Murray to maybe not force the ball as much. Sometimes when you got a number 1 wide out like DeAndre Hopkins, you kind of push it a little bit more. I think he'll be a little more cautious with that and run it a little bit more. And that's going to be, to me, one of the keys here is that between Drake and Kyler Murray on the ground, I think that's one of the ways in which they're going to be able to compensate for the possible absence of DeAndre Hopkins. I'm going with Arizona to win this game on the score, and I'm going to go 30-23.
Madison, what say you? Carolina at home getting 3 points against Arizona.
Yeah, I think because they're at home and because I like cats and because last week it seemed to work that I just picked on how I felt, which way the wind was blowing at the moment. I'm going with Carolina.
And it didn't work for last week. Madison did win the pick segment by 1 game last week over Sam and Steve. So
I bet I know what game that. I bet I know what game that was that put me ahead too.
Yeah.
Was it the last one?
I want to pick after Madison now.
The one we pick at the end.
I got to start Lions and Madison.
Only Madison has faith in the Lions, Sam.
True.
All right, Jacksonville at Cincinnati. Cincinnati at home giving 3 points to the Jaguars. So I don't know how Madison picks this one. You have Bengals and Jaguars. These are a couple of cats. We'll get to her in a moment. But Sam Webb, Cincy giving 3 at home against Jacksonville.
I don't know what to make of Jacksonville. It's like, they're supposed to lose week 1. They were supposed to lose.
Can't get over it.
Can't get over it. Okay, but I tried to correct it. I said, okay, Jacksonville's better than I thought they would be. All right. So then I pick them over Miami. And what the hell happened? How do you lose to Miami in the fashion in which they lost? I don't know what to make of this team. And because of that, I'm going to go with my first mind. I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. Who then we have a Bengals fan on here. Joe Burrow playing better than a lot of people expected him to. Defense holding up, reasonably well. Jaguars burned me enough already for me to say, all right, go with your first thought. Give me the Bengals in this game, Ira.
All right, Steve Clark.
I don't know how Madison knows exactly what direction the wind is blowing for her to pick up, to pick her games. But I do know one thing. It's blowing in her face right now. That's how the wind is blowing. It's in her face.
What?
Look,
off the lake.
It's coming off the lake. Yeah, it's a nice breeze.
Into your face. Yes. So I'm going to expect a sack fest on the riverfront today in Cincinnati. Burrow and Minshew have been sacked a combined 24 times in their 6 games so far this season. Rookie running back James Robinson, well, he's going to get his yards against a depleted defensive line and a defense that gives up 181 rushing yards per game. But I think that the Bengals have more credibility in their tie last week against Philadelphia than the Jacksonville Jaguars had in their ugly Thursday night loss at home against the Dolphins. I'm going with Cincinnati.
Madison, what say you?
Sam, what did you pick? You picked Cincinnati, right?
They both took Cincinnati.
All right, I'll pick Jacksonville then.
You're dressed in a cat suit. How are you picking against the cats? And you love cats?
Sam, they're both cats. They're both cats.
But this is like a tiger. It's a tiger. You're a Tigers fan.
Yeah, I picked the Bengals last week.
They're both cats, Sam. All right, we've got Cleveland at Dallas.
You're right. I wasn't thinking about that. But still, the tiger closer to home. The tiger is a cat closer to home.
Steve Clark, we've got Cleveland at Dallas. Dallas giving 4.5 points to the Browns.
Cleveland's run game of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt has taken the load both off of quarterback Baker Mayfield and this Browns defense in wins over Cincinnati and Washington. Dallas, despite being 1-2, their record, they're not desperate for a win. They're still tied for first in the division, but they need to make a statement in this one. I'm going to take Dallas in the 4.5.
Can you just repeat real quick who Cleveland's wins are over?
Washington and Cincinnati.
Okay, just making sure.
That's why I'm taking Dallas. I'm taking Dallas.
Steve Clark, Sam Webb, what say you? Cleveland at Dallas. Cleveland is getting 4.5 on the road.
Here's the thing. You got Baker Mayfield. You have this high-powered receiving core, and the Cleveland Browns are not a passing team. They are a run the football team behind. Obviously, Nick Chubb is looking outstanding. You pair him with Kareem Rush, and that may be the best running back tandem in the NFL. You've had 23 pass attempts by Baker Mayfield the past 2 weeks in a row. It's looking like it. Maybe you can keep that Dallas high octane offense at bay if you keep it off the field and run the football. Dallas is giving up an average passer rating of over 114. So Baker Mayfield could have a big day, but I look at this Cowboys offense and too many weapons. Zeke Elliott isn't even going off and they're still lighting it up. I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys. I got them winning this game. What did I pick? I got them winning at 35-27.
That's Kareem Hunt, by the way. I know, Steve, you picked up on that. I don't think Kareem Rush and Kareem Hunt have ever been confused before. For those who don't remember, the Rush brothers that played basketball, Sam, Kareem Rush is almost 40 years old, if you want to make yourself feel old. All right, so Madison Rally, Cleveland at Dallas. Dallas giving 4.5.
This is a hard one for me because I don't like the Cowboys, but I think I got to go with the Cowboys.
Yeah, because you're a cat. You don't like dogs, right?
Yeah, okay. That's yeah. That's
with your your rationale. It seems to work.
I'm gonna let Madison pick first on this next one because I usually know which direction she goes when this one of these teams is involved. Minnesota at Houston. Houston is giving 3.5 points to Kirk Cousins.
See, this one is hard for me. I'm not gonna lie to you. I just circled some stuff and I circled Houston. I didn't realize what was going on at the time, but I went by feel last week. I'm going by feel this week and I circled Houston. So here we are.
All right. Sam Webb, who do you have?
I think Madison's feel is good. There hasn't been a more disappointing team in the NFL than the Minnesota Vikings. They are not anywhere close to what I thought they would be. I look at them defensively. The fact that they are not one of the league leaders in sacks. Part of that you can chalk up to Danielle Hunter not being there, but even without him, you would expect them to be better. They just are not getting it done. Between Anthony Barr being missing, the secondary being porous, they just don't have enough. Even with the Bill O'Brien-led Houston Texans and some of the dumb decisions that he makes, against these Minnesota Vikings, I'm going to go with the Houston Texans, and I'm going to say Houston will win. And what are they getting? Houston is giving 3.5. I still will go with Houston in this game, Ira.
All right. What say you, Steve Clark?
Look, it's the league's worst rushing defense, and it's not the Lions, okay? It is the Texans that have the league's worst rushing defense, and they have to stop Dalvin Cook this week. Both teams are desperate for a win. Why? Because they haven't won yet, okay? The thing is, Mike Zimmer's not going to get fired if they go 0-4. Bill O'Brien, he might get fired for going 0-4. Nothing appears imminent at this week about that happening, but whoever goes 0-4 is not making the playoffs, and there's been plenty of offseason rumblings going on with Bill O'Brien in Texas. So Houston is more desperate. Second thing, and this is the most important thing, the Vikings' practice this week has been extremely disrupted with the Titans' COVID-19 problem.
Mm-hmm.
Players, they can rest a little bit.
No positives, though.
Yeah, but the practice facility's been closed.
Right.
So players have been able to rest. They've been watching a lot of film, but Kirk Cousins isn't throwing to teammates, and coaches aren't in there in person to help correct problems. So, I mean, that's the most important thing. I got Houston.
All right, Steve, right back to you, Steve. Seattle at Miami. Miami getting 6 points at home from the Seahawks.
I finally understand Fitzmagic. I finally understand it, because how else can you explain how the Dolphins looked good against Jacksonville on 3 days rest on the road? I mean, Fitz was incredible against Jacksonville, even though Jacksonville was a dog or a cat, depending on however you look at it. Seattle, though, Seattle may have this year's MVP, Russell Wilson. Cam Newton made the Dolphins' defense look useless in week 1. Seattle's defense is banged up, but Miami's offense can't go toe-to-toe with Seattle like New England and Dallas did. Can they? No, they can't. Even with Ryan Fitzmagic, they can't. So I'm taking Seattle on the road.
Sam, what say you?
This doesn't even require that much analysis. Seattle has been fantastic. Russell Wilson is playing like an MVP. Too much offense. And then you look at the revamped defense, going back to the days of the Legion of Boom. Not quite that good, but an imposing defense now back in Seattle. I think they're going to be all over the Miami Dolphins today, and they're going to do it in a big way. I got them winning by double digits, maybe even a couple of touchdowns.
And Madison, what say you? Seattle at Miami. Miami getting 6 points at home.
I think Sam took the words right out of my mouth, and I'm just going to go with Seattle.
All right, and one more 1:00 game. The Chargers at the Buccaneers. Sam Webb, the Bucs are giving 7 points to the Chargers at home.
So did the Chargers team doctor make the trip?
Probably.
Someone answer me that question. Did the Chargers team doctor get replaced? Is there
the shot administrator? Yeah, I don't think he's been replaced.
Yeah, so what am I getting at? Yeah, he knocked Tyrod Taylor out for the game. Probably the rest of his Chargers career, as far as I'm concerned, barring injury, because Tyrod Taylor is not cleared to play today, right? I think he's still out from his punctured lung.
Not playing.
Yeah, he's not playing. So, but anyway, this doesn't require much analysis either. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's just a matter of time before their offense is churning, like one of the top 2 or 3 offenses in the league. The return of Chris Godwin, I think, is a big factor. But look at the Buccaneers defense. And for you fantasy watchers, look for that defense. I don't know what their up-to-date ranks are, but I think they have the ingredients to be a top 5 defense if they aren't already. I'm going with Tampa Bay in this game, and definitely, even beyond. They're giving 7.5. Still going with the Buccaneers in this game.
And Madison, what say you?
Well, I don't understand. I'm looking at the spreads now. You didn't even update these.
Yes, I did. I sent them on Friday.
I know. I have them both, and I'm telling you, they're the same.
Well, some lines don't change.
These are Ira's fake spreads again, and I'm going to go with Tampa Bay.
Can I throw you under the bus for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was thrilled when you had Baltimore and Washington as a pick'em.
That was I was trying to figure out when I went on Monday or Tuesday. I wasn't in on Monday. When I went on Tuesday, and that was what was on the sheet that I look at CBS Sports, and when I looked at the lines that they had out there, I scratched my head. I'm like, but I knew on Friday to update it, and I sent the updated lines out on Friday, and which I did.
Look,
and here you go.
Everybody.
I think you forgot to save.
Everybody in the world, other than San Diego's team anesthesiologist, should have known that was not a pick'em game.
Oh, I know. I just put what was on there, and I just left it because it didn't matter. And because I tell you guys, I send updated lines either Thursday or Friday, and I sent them on I'm pretty sure it's Friday. Yeah, but I know I sent them this week. So
I see 14 Chargers on the injury report this week. 8 of them are starters. As you know, the Bucs are rebounding from their opening loss to the Saints. Should be at least a touchdown favorite at home against a team that lost to Carolina at home. Take Tampa Bay.
All right, guys, we're going to get to the 4:00 window games, the primetime games, and as we continue our pick segment on the other side of the break, you're listening to the Sunday Countdown to Kickoff on Sports Talk 1050 WTK The Ticket and on Ticket TV.
So my sorry, clear. Okay, there we go. We are clear on the
yeah. We're clear on the radio side.
Colts at 1.
So yeah, Tennessee.
No, they moved that game yesterday. The Colts Bears game moved to 4:25 to replace the Chiefs.
You sure?
What about the Steelers Titans?
Yeah, it got Steelers Titans is not. They're not playing.
They're not playing. Remember?
Oh, that's right.
Top of that too.
And when Kansas City, New England was the 4:25 game, the national game on CBS, they bumped it.
Yeah, you're right.
Have given up.
So that is why we have not picked that game yet, because they moved that game to the 4:25 window. They had to pick something.
People watching at home, this is why you don't bring this up during the actual radio segment, because Ira is right and I'm like a fool. And now I'm only a fool in front of you at home.
Well, we all admit this is a really weird week to watch the scheduling of NFL games as you're waiting to see games get canceled. I mean, Sam, you mentioned the Week 5 game for Tennessee is in doubt. I'm very much
going to play that game.
I with you. I don't think they're playing that game. I'm waiting to see what happens with so Cam Newton has a negative test. The guy that is emulating Cam Newton in practice for the Kansas City Chiefs took it a little too far, and he also got a positive test. So how do those two sides, how does that lead to the
right? Go out and get COVID.
Stanislaus.
No,
I'm starting to feel like this is the beginning of the end.
Yeah, the Titans, there's just no way. I mean, this is 6 days in a row where they've had a positive COVID test. And if you're a member of that team, let's say they opened up the facility. You're a member of that team. Do you feel like, especially if you're a veteran, would you go in? I'm like, hell no, I'm not playing. I gotta see it all clear for like a week. There's no way you can play that game. I don't think they have enough players to do it.
I think New England's in big trouble. Cam Newton was, barking signals to his team in a huddle all week. And even if
and now they're bringing it here.
Yeah, well, the Saints guy had a false positive, thankfully. So the Saint player that tested positive got retested, and they did all the proper protocols. He had a false he had a Sam Webb test, and a Matthew Stafford test.
Which is a test guys, that
am I breaking up at all?
No, you're fine, Steve. You're fine.
Okay,
I think you're all right.
Yeah, but I got the Abbott test, and that Abbott test is the one that everyone is. That's the one that the government put in the order for like 150 million tests. That's the one I took. So I imagine that's the one that's being given out there. Big Ten doesn't have the Abbott test.
Well, I think there's going to be if there's a lot of false positives, there's going to be false negatives too, right?
Well, that's
yeah.
I think that's part of the problem.
We're going to stay away from the Abbott test, and our.
I'm not trying to bring you down.
Our brand endorser to not take that test is Sam Webb.
Yeah.
All right, folks, we're back on the radio side in about 10 seconds. So stand by. All right, back live on radio in 5, 4, 3, 2.
And welcome back to the Sunday Countdown and Kickoff on Sports Talk 1050 WTK The Ticket and on Ticket TV. We're continuing our pick segment. It's Sam Webb, it's Madison Raleigh, it's Steve Clark making their picks. And guys and gal, we have 3 games in the 4 o'clock. Is it 3 games in the? Yeah, 3 games. They keep changing the schedule on us. The first one is at 4:05. The Giants at the Rams. Sam Webb, the Rams are giving nearly a touchdown. It's a 13-point line at home against the pretty hapless Giants.
Yeah, you just took the words out of my mouth. Hapless Giants, as much as I feel for Jabril in this contest. You got a team in the Rams that are starting to look like they did a couple of years ago. I wonder would they be able to run the football without Todd Gurley. They haven't missed a beat. As a matter of fact, I think you have some in LA say they've been better. Jared Goff is looking more Jared Goff-like again. And then you turn it around with maybe the best defensive tandem in the NFL. When you talk about the elite, arguably the best defensive lineman in the league, and Aaron Donald, and unquestionably the number 1 corner, the number 1 defensive back in the league in Jalen Ramsey. Pressure generates some obviously bad throws. It's going to be a long day for Daniel Jones. I'm going to go with the Rams in this game and comfortably go with the Rams in this game.
Steve Clark.
You know, it's interesting to me because in terms of point spreads, there are very few double-digit point spreads in the NFL, and there's 2 of them this week. And the one thing I can tell you about double-digit spreads is it doesn't sit well with NFL players from a pride standpoint, and it doesn't sit well with bettors either. Take a case in point a couple of weeks ago, Kansas City was a double-digit favorite on the road at San Diego, and San Diego almost pulled it off. A double-digit underdog seems to win this outright about as much as a 12 upsets of 5 in the NCAA basketball tournament, which is often. There's nothing I see here that the Giants can't take advantage of. I think the spread of 13 is justified. I'm going with the Rams, but just as a moment of reflection, when you see teams that are double-digit underdogs, they find a way to win outright in many of these situations.
All right, Madison, the Rams hosting the Giants and the Rams giving 13 points.
I feel like that's a lot of points to give. And you know what? I'm going to say even bad teams have decent games sometimes. We saw that last week. So you know what? I'll be the hope for the Giants this week. How about that?
All right. So Steve Clark, Buffalo at Las Vegas. The Vegas Raiders are getting 3 points at home from the Buffalo Bills.
You know, the Bills are tough to figure. Now, Sam's probably got it nailed because I think he's probably picked Buffalo right against the spread in all 3 weeks.
Yeah.
They've had two cupcake wins, an impressive win last week against the Rams, but that game nearly ended with an epic collapse. They go on the road this week, but it's in an empty stadium. The Raiders secondary is also beat up, and I think the Bills can run and pass on them all day. Despite that, I'm going with Vegas. I'm just going.
You're gambling with Vegas?
I am gambling with Vegas. I'm going against all my homework, but my mind or my heart still says Vegas is going to find a way to win this one.
Sam, what say you? Vegas getting 3 points at home from the Bills.
Yeah, Steve is right. I have been very bullish on the Bills. I actually picked the Raiders to be a wild card team as well. So both of these are 2 teams that have served me well in this young season. But Steve mentioned something. He said it was almost a collapse. Man, they had the Rams down. And you're right. While they almost gave it up, they didn't. They were able to hold on and stave off a loss in the game that maybe in past years they would have. Josh Allen is a different guy. You know, a guy who has full command of the offense. You can see it. Now you give him a number 1 receiver with Stephon Diggs. I like the Bills in this game on the road. Understand that it is, it's probably a one that most of the experts are going to go against me on. As a matter of fact, looking at some of them this morning, most people are picking the Raiders. I'm going with the Bills, even given the points. Give me the Bills in this game.
I need Stephon Diggs with a big game for fantasy purposes. Madison, what say you? Buffalo at Vegas. Vegas getting 3 points at home.
I think, let's say the Bills aren't as good as we think they are. Maybe Vegas, baby. How about that?
All right, 2 primetime games. The game tonight is Philadelphia at San Francisco. Sam Webb. San Francisco is giving a touchdown. It's giving a touchdown to Philadelphia in the Bay Area tonight. 8:20 kickoff.
You know, it's an interesting time in the NFL where you look at a few teams that, you know, they invested in a quarterback and they are already asking, is it time to do something different? Yeah, I mean, Baker Mayfield to a certain extent was getting that. But he's at least been efficient. Dwayne Haskins, I mean, if he doesn't do it this week, he's out. They're asking, is this it for Carson Wentz? He has been that bad. Now, if they were facing a team, if they were facing a full-strength San Francisco 49ers, this would be a no-brainer. But absent that, I actually think that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to go on the road and win this game, but not by a touchdown. I don't think
they're getting a touchdown, Sam.
Oh, they're getting a touchdown. They're being given a touchdown?
Yeah.
Give me the Eagles in this game.
All right. Steve, Philly getting 7 on the road at San Francisco.
Look for BG. BG's been playing well too, by the way. Brandon Graham, that the former Wolverine that Steve hates, and his whole family knows it. Yeah, that BG has been playing really, really well.
Unbelievable.
you hate Brandon Graham.
What, can I sue for libel? Oh, no,
I put this slander. This is slander. This is slander.
Verbal slander. Your commentary in the first week where you talked all about the Philadelphia Eagles and you just omitted one of the all-time great defensive linemen at the University of Michigan. It was blatant.
Yeah, so that doesn't mean I hate Brandon Graham, Sam. Brandon Graham is not only a fine football player, but a great ambassador for the University of Michigan and in life in general.
Yeah, clean up.
I don't hate Brandon Graham, and you'll hear from my lawyer. Look, this game, it's ineptitude versus injury riddled. This is a bad primetime matchup. So therefore, I'm taking game 3 of the NBA Finals to win. Look, I know Philly is bad, but the 49ers aren't that much better to be 7-point favorites. Right. George Kittle should play for San Francisco. Deebo Samuel, maybe. Look, I'm still taking Philadelphia. I'm going to match Sam's pick on this one.
All right, Madison, what say you?
They're green. They're green, Madison.
I look at you. First of all, what do I say every single week? I don't like the 49ers. And I think Steve's absolutely right. They don't have any starters left, so I'm going with Philadelphia.
All right, after I told myself I wouldn't skip this one because it moved from the 1 o'clock window to 4 o'clock window, I went right over Indianapolis at Chicago, 4:25 kickoff. It's one of the CBS moved it when they had the postponement of the Kansas City New England game. So Indianapolis at Chicago at 4:25. Sam Webb, so it's going to be Steve Clark. We'll start with you first. Chicago is getting 2.5 at home.
So everybody in Chicago is asking, how are they doing this? And I got an answer for you. Smoke and mirrors. But you do have to give credit to Bears head coach Matt Nagy for not benching Mitch Trubisky in game 1, but benching Trubisky in game 3 for Nick Foles, who threw 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, rallying Bears down by 16 to stay undefeated. The Bears, by the way, become the first NFL team to rally from 16 points or more down in the fourth quarter twice in the same season. The Colts have twice as many wins as the teams that the Bears have played so far. But the reason the Colts win is that they have the league's #1 overall defense, a defense that had 2 pick-sixes last week and also got safeties in each of their last 2 games. The Colts have Xavier Rhodes, the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. The Bears have tight end Jimmy Graham. Advantage? Colts. Take Indy.
All right, Sam, what say you?
You got Bears fans saying, what the hell were we waiting for? Why did we wait this long? Even with the wins to go to Nick Foles. He looked like Mitch Trubisky looked like we expected Mitch Trubisky to look against the Lions for the full game. He looked like it for 3 quarters, and then the last quarter, he was Joe Montana. Against the Falcons, it wasn't working out that way. And they went to the bench, and they got Nick Foles, and I know Madison is probably going to point to maybe a little bit of Spartan roots there.
I mean, he was there for an hour.
Yeah, he was there for a second. But Nick Foles did what Nick Foles does. He came in there, quarterbacked him to 3 fourth-quarter touchdowns, and gave the Falcons another unbelievable L. But they go into a game against the ageless one. You got Phillip Rivers on the other side leading the league in completion percentage. And how old is he? Like 57? I mean, the guy is unbelievable. I like the smack he talks on top of it. You give him a reliable running back. Who did I say when the Lions picked a running back in the second round? Who did I say they should have picked, Ira? Do you recall who I said? It wasn't DeAndre Swift. I looked up the road to Madison, Wisconsin and said, that's a feature back. If ever I saw one available in the second round of Jonathan Taylor, you have him to lean on. And here's the big key. A guy who is on his game in Phillip Rivers, leading the league in completion percentage, in the top half and all of the other quarterback statistics or passing statistics. And he's facing a defense that does not get a consistent pass rush. Give me the Colts in this game.
And Madison, the pick to you, Indianapolis at Chicago at 425. Chicago getting 2.5 at home.
Hey, first of all, what did I say about Nick Foles last week? What did I say?
I can't remember.
She shouted him out. She called him out.
Oh my gosh.
She did. She said nice things.
I did. Whatever.
She did.
But you know what? This week I'm setting my lineup right now. I need Indianapolis to do some good on my fantasy lineup, so I'm going with Indianapolis.
All right, and the primetime game tomorrow night, Monday Night Football. Atlanta is in Sam Webb's favorite city to face Sam Webb's favorite team, the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are giving a touchdown to the Falcons tomorrow night, Sam.
Are we serious? I mean, you just want me to sit up and say some good things about.
Actually, should I change the question to how much will Atlanta be up and then below the game so they then lose by over a touchdown?
Here's the thing. I mean, you would think that last week, no Adams, they're gonna, Aaron Rodgers is gonna come back down to earth, and then Alan Lazard, who's injured by the way, but Alan Lazard, what that told me is doesn't matter. You throw anyone out there for Aaron Rodgers this year, and he's going to light it up. And I think they're going to absolutely destroy the Falcons in this game. Falcons are going to put up some points like they always do, but there's no way they come close to the Packers in this game.
Steve,
they do get Julio Jones back for Atlanta, and Devontae Adams may still be out, so there's a little bit of intrigue there. But look, the Packers, barring a serious injury to Aaron Rodgers, has already won the division. They have a 3-game lead on Minnesota and beat them at their building. Does anyone seriously think that the Lions and Bears are going to contend with the Packers? It is over after 3 games. The Falcons, they're a train wreck, especially in fourth quarters. The Packers have scored no fewer than 37 points per game. They don't need fourth quarter collapses by Atlanta. Meanwhile, the Falcons haven't given up less than 30 points in any game this year. I mean, this just seems so easy. If it wasn't for Julio Jones coming back for Atlanta, that might provide them a bit of an offensive boost. You got to take the Packers in this one.
Green Bay has real question marks at the receiver position, but we'll see how that offense flows. Madison, the last pick of the segment is to you, Atlanta at Green Bay. Green Bay giving 7 points tomorrow night on Monday Night Football.
Well, I think Atlanta doesn't really have a defense right now, and I want to score points in your house, so I'm just going to go with Green Bay.
Well, we appreciate that here, and thank everyone for the pick segment. The last couple segments been a lot of fun. We'll see how the picks go. Kickoffs for these games, obviously the 1 o'clock window will get things going, including the New Orleans Saints at the Detroit Lions, which we will pick later on in the show. Coming up, hour number 2, more on the Saints and the Lions, and a whole lot more here on the Sunday Countdown to Kickoff on Sports Talk 1050 WTK The Ticket and on Ticket TV.
Clear.
Thank you.
Hear that the NFL is going to Tennessee and requesting all footage.
Yeah, they've had people investigating since they've been Bye, Madison. We'll see you later.
Okay, bye.
Goodbye.
Yeah, they sent investigators. They've been down there since I think Friday, and they're digging. They're trying to figure out where the leak in the protocol or the mistake. They're trying to figure out if it's a protocol issue or if it's a person doing something stupid issue. Because if they can tie it back, they can obviously learn from it and figure out how to not have this happening. You know what? Every college football team and college sport administrator and everybody else, they're all watching it too. They want to see because
get out of here.
Because you had the same thing in baseball, right? They figured out what the issues were with the Marlins and the Cardinals, and they figured out what the issues were. They tightened those things up, and they've been good since. Now they're in their bubbles for the postseason. So
how the hell are the Marlins still in the playoffs? By the way,
Derek Jeter.
Derek Jeter.
What is that? My dog came in and messed up my view.
Oh, your green screen. There you go.
There we go. There we go.
My dog hasn't moved. He is over to my right, and
enthralled with the broadcast he was last week.
Like he was last week. He is asleep. Yeah, Freddie's asleep. Murray's in the other room. We have sleeping dog. Let sleeping dogs lie. Isn't that what they say? Yeah,
something like that.
So, Miz, how you feeling about your Saints today?
Not good. Not great, Bob.
Not enough offense for you. Good morning, Ben, by the way. Good morning to Ben.
Yeah, happy belated birthday, Ben.
With the Saints, man.
He turned a big 3-0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I when the news of Michael Thomas being out came across Friday afternoon during the M Zone, I just
Stevie D.
I could have thrown a whole bunch of stuff in the studio.
Coming your way this weekend. You know.
Oh, bye week. You're going to Dallas?
Going to Dallas. Going to see some Michigan recruits.
All right. Good morning to Michelle.
Morning, Cookie. All right, we're hitting the open for hour number 2, gentlemen.
Oh, here we go. Real quick high.
Murray.
Hey.
That's not Fred, is it?
No, that's Murray.
Murray.
Murray's now like 30 pounds and on his way to
Murray.
60. Yeah.
Hi, Sherry.
Freddie, after COVID, Murray is coming to play with your big dogs.
Broadcasting through the M-Den studios in Ann Arbor, Michigan. This is the Sunday Countdown to Kickoff with Ira Weintraub, Sam Webb, Steve Clark, and Madison Relly. Today, the Detroit Lions return home after picking up their first win of the season. It's the Detroit Lions versus the New Orleans Saints. Kickoff from Ford Field is at 1 p.m. But first, get ready for the game with the Sunday Countdown to Kickoff. Presented by Brighton Ford on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA. The Ticket. Ann Arbor's home for the Detroit Lions and the National Football League. Now, here's your host for the Sunday Countdown to Kickoff, Ira Weintraub.
Back live on radio in 5, 4, 3, 2.
And we are back. Sunday Countdown to Kickoff on Sports Talk 1050, WTK The Ticket, and on Ticket TV. We advise you to watch on Ticket TV. You get to hear extra fun during break conversations. We just had a chance to meet my puppy as my wife brought him into the screen for a moment. Always fun watching and hanging out with you on Ticket TV. You can send us messages through Twitter, through Facebook, and through YouTube as well. And we'll put those on the screen. We'll read them. We'll interact with you as well, both in the show and also especially during the break. It's hour number 2 of our 2-hour countdown show coming up at the top of the hour. At 11 o'clock, we'll get to network coverage of the Lions and the Saints as they kick off at 1 o'clock at Ford Field. But in the meantime, let's talk about those Saints and let's meet the offensive side of the ball first for the Saints. Steve Clark, is obviously people know the name Drew Brees, but his biggest target is out. His running back, however, Alvin Kamara, is there, and that guy is terrific. Let's go through those Saints on the offensive side of the ball.
So a lot of questions being asked this week, guys, is how much does Drew Brees have left in the tank? And, the Saints passing offense right now, this week, may be in worse shape without Michael Thomas than the Lions have been without Kenny Golladay. They have been reduced to a series of dinks and dunks, but the saving grace, as you say, Ira, is Alvin Kamara, and he is good enough to pull it off. I mean, Alvin Kamara right now is averaging more than 90 receiving yards per game with 3 touchdowns in the air, and he's averaging more than 50 yards rushing per game with 3 touchdowns on the ground. But they seem like a one-man band right now, and it reminds me of another Big Ten team with a similar color scheme, if you know what I mean. Drew Brees, he isn't throwing deep anymore and hasn't been for some time. Now, his accuracy in his short range is starting to diminish as well. He's one of the highest completion percentage in the NFL over the last few years because he was throwing short, but now that is starting to get, diminished as well. And under that trifecta, no deep threat playmaker in Michael Thomas, fewer athletes in space other than Alvin Kamara, and a diminishing accuracy problem with Drew Brees. It's only a matter of time when defensive coaches take advantage of it to stop your offense. It may not be this week against the Lions and this defensive coaching staff, but it's going to happen. Now, Michael Thomas could be back for next week's game, and that's going to change things for them. But until he gets back, the Saints are going to have a troubled chance of making a playoff run.
I did see, Sam, before we jump in here, I did see some really good footage from last week's game of offensive line play for the New Orleans Saints from one Mr. Cesar Ruiz.
Yeah, C's, and I told him he was going to be a guy for them when I talked to their broadcast team, their flagship station on draft day, that C's is going to be able to come down there and handle business as a rookie. But look, the questions about Drew Brees, I get them. You know, is he a guy that can elevate players in the way that he used to? Think about some of the guys that started at receiver in Drew Brees' time. You think about Marcus Colston. You think about Willie Snead. These are not speed burner guys. And yet here you had Drew Brees elevating weapons like that, inflating, in my opinion, what they are as athletic talents. I mean, everyone in the NFL is good, but these are not guys that are elite players. Willie Snead went on to get a decent contract for a mid-level receiver. Marcus Colston was regarded as one of the best receivers in football for a period of time. I think that's all Drew Brees. Now, you get to the point now with Mike Thomas. Mike Thomas is without question one of the top, as far as talent, production, one of the top 2 or 3 receivers in the game. You take him out at this stage of Drew Brees' career, and there are legitimate questions as to whether or not he can really produce. Now, you look at last week, and for all of the hand wringing that there was about what's going on with Drew Brees, is he dumb? What's up? He matched Aaron Rodgers. He went toe to toe with Aaron Rodgers. You know what the difference was statistically? Aaron Rodgers had some big plays in there. Hit Allen Lazard down the football field. If Drew Brees just had a vertical pass in there as opposed to a short pass that Alvin Kamara takes the distance, I wonder if maybe some of these questions would be subdued. The jury is still out for me. When you have your weapons out and Alvin Kamara is left, feed the man the football. And that's what the Saints are doing. He has 27 receptions. I think that's second in the NFL right now. Looking at how many carries he has, I think he has more carries. So 31 carries. So there's a lot of balance. They are really, really riding Alvin Kamara as well. You should. And you give it to him every place you can. Give it to him in space. I think he has like 15 missed tackles that he's caused this season. I was looking at Pro Football Focus this morning. So to me, it's about the weapon that you have, riding him until the other team shows that they can stop it. Then when the other ones come back, all right, now you start maybe getting a little more vertical. But I'm not stressed out yet about Drew Brees. If I'm Miz, I'm not stressed out yet thinking that they can't get it done. My question would be about the defense. You want to know why they lost last week? Wasn't Drew Brees. It's the defense right now, which I think is the Saints' bigger problem.
And let's get to that side of the ball, Steve Clark. Let's talk a little bit about the New Orleans Saints, because the question really comes down to, as they go on a week-to-week basis, can the defense be, quote-unquote, good enough, make enough stops to win the game, because their offense can't put points on the board? Last week, obviously, against Green Bay, not the case. What say you about this week?
So the defense is under as much scrutiny, if not more, than Drew Brees at this point. Remember, Drew Brees is the future NFL Football Hall of Famer and number 1 in stats. So that's why he's getting a lot of the attention. The defense is a bigger problem. The Saints defense has turned 2 obscure receivers into all pros in the last 2 weeks. Darren Waller, the tight end for the Raiders, he had 12 catches for 105 yards and a touchdown 2 weeks ago, all but disappeared in week number 3. Allen Lazard replaced an injured Devontae Adams for Green Bay on Monday night. 6 catches, 146 yards, and a TD as a backup to Devontae Adams. Let's go into this further, guys. Both starting corners for the Saints will not be playing. Mm-hmm. And neither is starting defensive end Marcus Davenport. And then you have all-pro Cam Jordan, who had 40.5 sacks since the start of 2017. You know what he has in 2020? I mean, 40.5 sacks over the last 3 seasons. You know what he has in 2020? Goose egg. Absolute zero. So the defense has got a lot of questions about it. and it's a fine time for Kenny Golladay to get closer to 100% with your starting corners being out.
Yeah, you look at the maybe the one saving grace for them is they've been really, really stout against the run. I looked up the stats this morning. They're 6th in the league, allowing 100 yards per game, and they haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher, an individual to rush for 100 yards in 45 games. This is 45 straight games. I mean, they still do that well. They can. So if you're looking at for Adrian Peterson to maybe have a big day, today's probably not that day. Statistically, that doesn't mean the Lions are going to abandon the run. They didn't have good rush stats last week, and they stayed with it to have balance, to keep the defense honest. But right now, if you're the Saints, man, you are looking to your offense to help protect that defense a bit, and look at hoping that the Lions are going to look like the Lions, that they don't suddenly find a groove between Golladay and Stafford. Last week was pedestrian for Kenny Golladay. If Kenny Golladay is going to get this is ripe for the picking for Kenny Golladay to go off today. If he had not missed time, I would predict that I would say he definitely will go off today. Right now, because he's still only a week removed from coming back on the football field, remains to be seen. But with a depleted secondary, a lacking pass rush, this seems to me a ripe for the picking type of afternoon for Matthew Stafford and Kenny Golladay.
Well, that leads to some optimism as we get later on in the show when we make our picks and obviously get to kickoff. There seems to be a little more optimism in this game than we would have said maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so we'll highlight that a little bit later on in the show. But coming up next, I got some questions I want to throw at my guys, Sam Webb and Steve Clark, and see what they have to say about a whole bunch of different topics. So we'll get to that next as we continue here on the Sunday Countdown to Kickoff, live on Sports Talk 1050 WTK The Ticket and on Ticket TV.
Hey, you guys know why Tariq Black isn't playing for Texas?
Doghouse?
Yeah, he's in doghouse. He's apparently he can't get out of trouble. He can't keep himself out of. That was what there was a quote. Someone took a screenshot. I saw it last night.
Gotta be kidding me, dude.
Yeah. So, Miss, I want you on the segment here, but when we're on with you, we're getting feedback.
So hold on, let's.
Well, not now, but when the broadcast is on. So I'm assuming it's that you're also in 3.
Yes.
And it's the new equipment. So Steve, we have this new
no, I get it.
A new thing for the mics in the studio that we're still messing around with.
So that you can hear the audio of the bumper coming back. He's got program 3 in.
Correct.
And that means a bit of a delay. When he takes program 3 off, he's probably going to be fine.
Let's see if you can figure this out. How does this sound? Am I echoing? I'm not echoing.
No, it's not. You're not.
Fine.
No, I think it's me.
It's not Sam.
Okay. Gotcha.
Sam, you're good.
I'm good.
You're 100%.
Good.
So Thea said Tariq played and had multiple back-to-back catches, but he's still playing limited. There was a thing about him not getting a lot of action yesterday. He doesn't get a ton of.
After that first game where it looked like he was going to be a guy for them.
Gosh, I was just about to tweet out another stellar defensive game out of the Big 12. So TCU's quarterback runs a 40-yard quarterback draw untouched into the end zone with a few minutes to go. Texas takes 2 plays, throws a bomb down the middle of the field, gets to the 5-yard line. I'm about ready to tweet more great defense out of the Big 12. As soon as I'm about to hit enter, there was that forced fumble at the goal line. Ball comes out. I said, well, let me delete that before.
So, Theus, Tariq was targeted 5 times yesterday. He had 1 catch for 12 yards. And what I was reading last night is he is
in the doghouse.
Yeah. Okay, so Ira, let's see if we can test this real quick. You can hear me right now, right?
Yep. And I hear me without the echo. I think we're fixed. And so, because might as well have Miz. We'd like to have Miz jump in on these questions as well and have be a 4-way conversation here.
Okay, so I guess I'd have to take myself out of program 3 is what I got to do.
Yes. So I know, Sam, you agree with me on this Drew Brees kick. The thing I think about is when the season starts, whether it's college or pro, it seems like all the defensive coordinators play everybody honest at the beginning. It's I believe you can do everything, And then as games start to move on, or within an individual game, as it starts to move on, you start to see, no, I don't think he can do everything, and things start getting tighter. I think we're now at a point in game 4 where they've seen enough film of 2020 where the defensive coaches from the Lions might take chances and not give Drew Brees respect going deep down the field. And it
Thanks,
may
Anthony.
not happen. It may not happen this week. And when Michael Thomas comes back, it changes everything. But if he is out for an extended period of time, I think they're in deep trouble.
All right, stand by, gentlemen.
Standing by.
Side in about 10.
All right, standing by.
Get the rebut, Sam. I'm sorry. Next break. Milk that perfect.
All right, guys. I'll make sure to take myself out of program 3 when we go live. And
gotcha.
we're live in 5, 4, 3, 2.
And we are back for the Sunday Countdown to Kickoff here on Sports Talk 1050 WTK, the ticket online at WTK.com and on Ticket TV. And I want to play a little true false with Sam, Steve, and hopefully with our guy Miz, but we have not fixed the issue that we thought we did fix. So the moment we're going to do that and mute our guy Miz for a few minutes while we figure out if we can figure that part out. We're going to start with Sam and Steve. Got a little true false with you. We did kind of hint at this one, Sam and Steve, earlier in the show, but the Quinn Tricia relationship saved their post-bye week job status with a win at Arizona. Sam, true or false?
I think they were going to make it through the season, so I'm going to say false. I think that it did give them some life. It kept maybe some of the peanut gallery at bay, the cacophony from the fan base of firing cries. Maybe it was quieted a bit, but I think most fans are like me. Kudos to the Lions for winning that game. No one expected them to do it. They deserve credit, but I'm still not convinced that this is the right direction. And anything short of 9-7, as I said earlier in the show, means you should go in a different direction. They inherited a 9-7 team. If you can't at least be that in year 3, then give me someone else that can take that shot. But no, I do not think they saved their jobs with that. Or you said post bye week, so you mean that they would have gotten fired, during the bye week? Is that?
Yeah.
I don't think that would have happened. I'm false on that.
All right. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, I thought I was going to be the outlier on this one, but I'm going false as well, because one bad loss to an undermanned Saints team today is going to renew all the angst to a new level. And 2, despite all that, I'm not convinced they would have been fired by an ownership group who's been historically patient and tolerant of other coaches during outcries of fan referendum if the Lions were to go 0-4. So I think the premise is false to begin with.
All right, next one for you guys. Kansas City at worst. Well, I was going to say at worst they're going to go 15-1, but that's based on a 16-game schedule, and I don't think we're guaranteed to see everybody, including Kansas City, play 16 games. So let's just say Kansas City at worst will only lose one regular season game this year. We'll start with you, Steve Clark.
So remember, the Chiefs needed a fourth quarter comeback just to beat the Chargers. So anything can happen, and usually does in the National Football League, especially teams that look as strong as the Kansas City is going 16-0. Kansas City is one of those teams, and besides something wickedly insane happening, the Chiefs have 4 challenging road games. They have to go to Tampa Bay. They have to go to Buffalo. They have to go to New Orleans, which we will assume will be stronger as the season goes on, and they have to go to Vegas. If they play New England without Cam Newton, then, that reduces it to 4 games left for the Kansas City Chiefs. On the surface, I think it's true, but realistically, something like a key injury or a COVID situation going on is going to prevent it. So I'm going to say false is the overall answer.
Yeah, I'm going to say false on that, too, for the very same reason. On the merits, if you can guarantee me that you don't have Tyreek Hill go down and miss games, or Patrick Mahomes go down and miss games. So why do I mention those guys? Because both of those guys missed games here in the last season. And it's reasonable to expect someone significant to be down sometime. That's good enough with the big time teams that they have to face for me to say that they'll probably drop a couple. Doesn't mean that they won't win the Super Bowl. But will they win? Will they lose more than one game? I expect that to be the case.
All right, we're going to try this again. Miz, you are with us now, and we're going to see how this works. Give us, what do you think? True or false? Kansas City at worst will lose one game at the most during the regular season.
Ooh. Can't hear you, Miz Man.
All right, that's not working. All
All
right, it's just not going to work.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, does that work now?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, go for it, Miz.
Okay. So I haven't really looked at the rest of the schedule to see what the Chiefs have got. But I imagine at one point they are going to slip up, but I think they might slip up twice. So I'll take the false in this one. I think they will finish worse than 15-1 at some point. So
I think
I'll go 14-2.
And Sam, I do think you mentioned the thing that was the most of the unknowns, which is all it takes is one guy that has to sit out, not even due to injury necessarily, right? It could be a COVID test, and we see what happened. Although most situations when these guys are getting caught on these COVID tests or the positive test, it's the whole team that is actually being shut down for the window of time, which is what is happening with a couple of games today. So we're going to follow that story along closely. Everybody is Kansas City, New England. When will they play that game? How will that play itself out? But another true false for my guys, Sam, Steve, and Miz. You are shocked, Steve Clark, Sam Webb. You are shocked that Nick Foles is now the starting quarterback in Chicago. You're shocked.
Oh, I was shocked that he wasn't the starting quarterback at the beginning of the season, but I get why that was the case. You invest the number 2 pick in a guy, and it gets back to kind of the conversation that I was having earlier in the show, and I think we touched on it last week. Think about the questions that are being asked in Philly. Think about the questions that are being asked in Washington. If they weren't franchise quarterback picks, those guys would be on the bench right now. And that was the logic being applied to Mitch Trubisky. Look, we invested a number 2 pick. Think about the guys we left on the board to take Mitch Trubisky. We got to ride this out to see if the guy can do it. But at this point, and they finally came to the conclusion as they were watching themselves, go down against the Atlanta Falcons. He's who we've seen him be. This guy's not going to be any better. And here we have a proven relief pitcher that can come in and probably and maybe bring us back and if not win this game, certainly, chart us on a course moving forward where we have consistent quarterback play, right? And all Nick Foles did is come in and engineer an amazing comeback with 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and made fans say, well, hell, we could have been further down this track. Now, fortunately, it didn't cost them any games. And fortunately, Nick Foles is the consummate pro that he stayed ready. He didn't get ready. He stayed ready. And the Bears are a better team for it. So, no, not shocked that he got pulled. Shocked that he was the guy at the beginning of the season to begin with. Because I think we already knew what Mitch Trubisky was. They needed a few more games to really see it.
What do you say, Steve?
Exactly the same thing. I mean, I was shocked that he didn't win the job to begin with in the summer, but it really has a lot to do with the general manager, who's, been in a hot seat in the offseason about previous decisions and especially this decision about drafting Trubisky as high as they did. And if you're under fire and you say that Nick Foles is your better option, it solidifies the fact that you're not doing your job right. So there's that certain stubbornness that you want to see that you're right, so you give your guy as much opportunity as you can. Bears coaching staff, I'll give them an out on the possibility that maybe Trubisky is a facility practice quarterback and not a Bear Stadium type of quarterback, but he gets into the games and it doesn't work out. But, to take him out now in week 3 and have full starting is, again, a signal that they have to acknowledge that Trubisky is a bust. And that general manager seat, again, is hot. The general manager seat is not as nice as the chair that Sam is sitting in right now. But it's a lot warmer and not as comfortable for him right now.
Yeah, there's no question. I'm going to get to the next question. I'm going to lead off with Miz on this one. And this will probably lead to maybe there's a couple of other suggestions in here. But after what I've seen, Miz, true or false, the New York Jets are the worst team in the National Football League.
How can you spell, Truth? Truth. They are garbage. They are trash. They are a dumpster fire. How many analogies can I put into this to prove the Jets are terrible? Charles Barkley, terrible. That's how bad they are. And to think that they can rely on a team with Sam Darnold at quarterback with a limited amount of weapons. Right now, the only prominent guy on their roster is a 35-year-old running back whose son is tearing it up with Southern Miss right now, and Frank Gore. The defense, who's on their defense? I don't know. They traded their best player to Seattle for a couple of footballs and a big old bag of popcorn. The Jets are the worst team in the National Football League.
That begs the question, when is the last father-son tandem to play in the NFL?
I don't know. That's a great question.
We have them in baseball for sure. Is there an actual NFL one? I mean, it's a lot harder to be that age separation in the NFL.
Wait a couple years when Phillip Rivers and one of his children grow up. It could happen. Who knows?
That's definitely possible. So there's got to be something to be said about Adam Gase parallel to Rich Kotite. Is there some sort of analogy in here?
I tell you, back in the day, working 25 years ago at WTKA, Rich Kotite was a favorite punching bag of the state. And for me, because it was bad news. But are the Jets the worst team in the league? Unequivocally, yes. And you just needed Thursday night's game to solidify it. The Jets lost at home to a winless Denver Broncos team, quarterbacked by Brett Rippon, the number 3 quarterback on the Denver Bronco roster, on 3 days rest, on the road, and without their starting tailback for Denver as well. The Jets, I think, are likely to join the Lions and the Browns as the two NFL's only 0-16 teams.
See, but it's not a bad place. And true, absolutely, Jets are the worst team in football. A place that I thought the Jags were going to be. The Jets are definitely there, and I don't see it getting any better. You aren't going to find weapons for Sam Darnold overnight. You aren't going to find protection for Sam Darnold overnight. And there's no defense walking through the door anytime soon. But one thing that Miz said, I got to disagree with. They didn't trade Jamal Adams for a bag of footballs. They got 2 1s and a 3. I thought at the time, I was like, man, this is just an unbelievable package to give up for one player. Now, if that player helps get you to a Super Bowl, then okay, fine. But from the Jets side, you are in position to really start stockpiling picks and to build your franchise. So to me, the rest of the season is about figuring out, amidst all of this turmoil, do you think Sam Darnold is your guy? This is a crucial question and a crucial time for them, because they're going to be at the top of that draft with 2 franchise quarterbacks in it. And you better know at that time if you got your quarterback for the future on your roster right now, because if you don't, it's time to move on like the Cardinals just did with Rosen. They shipped Rosen out and got Kyler Murray, and it's not like they got a huge haul. You aren't going to get a huge haul for Sam Darnold if you ship him off after this year. You're going to get something. That's who you might get a bag of footballs for, Miz. So you figure it out. Do you have your guy? And if you have your guy, then man, you can mortgage that number 1 pick and get a high first round pick this year and a bunch of more picks to go with it. If you don't have your guy, you got to spend it on a quarterback.
All right, before we shift gears to a little over-under with Sam, Steve, and Miz, a shout-out to Mike, who messaged through Facebook, Michigan and Lion fan, living in Houston, Texas, from Ann Arbor and Ipsy. Listen to 1050 Daily. Thanks for what you do and keeping me in the loop on my teams. Go Blue and Let's Go Lions. So shout-out to Mike. Thanks for listening down there in Houston. Be safe down there in Texas. All right, guys, how about a little over-under? And, when I first started writing these questions and coming up with these, things have changed a little bit, but I'm going to leave this number the same. 6 NFL games. This is for the season. So I probably should lift this number up to make it like 10. But I'm going to leave it at 6 and just leave it to so you guys have a conversation about it. But 6 NFL games will be moved, postponed, or whatever you want to call it due to COVID-19. Steve Clark, over, under, over or under?
We're going over. We're already at 2. As you said, if you had moved it to 10, I would say that the NFL will get its act together. I think what's happened here is a wake-up call. You have multiple teams. You have the Titans that had an explosion. But right now there's some other teams that may have some minor issues. I think it's a wake-up call for the rest of the league to be strict in what they're doing, not allow people with unauthorized access to enter locker rooms after a big win or a terrible loss, and think that it's okay because, hey, I know you're kind of a clean guy, and I've seen you be careful. Yeah, go ahead and walk right in without a mask. Those things are going to be buttoned up. The NFL sounds serious about finding people and taking draft picks away from coaches who aren't wearing masks. So, but still, I think we're going to have a few more in this aftermath that comes up in the next couple of weeks. But I'm not saying that it's a doomsday scenario for the season, Sam.
I agree. I think at least 6 games. I think that there will be more. Like you said, we're already at 2. There's going to be, might as well say 3. There's no way the Titans play next week against the Bills. There's just no way. And so I think that what we're seeing now here in the last week, after strong out of the gate, but to me, as teams started to travel, that was always going to be a big test. With the numbers, with the perfect record hold up, once teams started to go about, be on planes, be in hotels, and kind of move around more than they had been in a sort of kind of bubble, in a sense that they were just around their teams. They were able to go home at night, and I'm sure you go to the grocery store and do things like that. But you were at least in some semblance of a bubble-like atmosphere, and that is gone now with teams traveling. So I think it was inevitable that we would see some outbreaks on teams. I think more are to come, even with the protocols. And we're going to be at 6 games. I think is easy to say there's going to be over 6 games postponed or canceled as a result.
Come on, guys, give me a little more optimism.
Okay, I'll give you optimism here. To paraphrase Matthew McConaughey's role in Wolf of Wall Street, those are rookie numbers. You got to bump those numbers up, man. I think it took 4. I'm surprised it took 4, to week 4 for the first postponement to happen. I think 6 is still kind of on the low side of things, and I hate to 6 is probably the optimistic at this point. I think you're probably looking, like Steve said, close to maybe double digits, the way things are going.
Yeah, and I wrote this, I believe, when I first wrote the question. We had not had an official cancellation or postponement of a single game yet, and then obviously we have now gotten to a couple for today. And as Sam says, the optimism for next week's Titans game is not very high as their numbers continue to rise. I'm not very optimistic for New England's outlook, and maybe not even Kansas City's for next week either, because we've only gotten the first positive test for each of those 2 teams. But if those are not false negatives, and it doesn't sound like they are, if those are true positive tests, so if they're not false positive, they're true positive tests, then there's going to end up being more. And so I'm curious what that ripple effect is going to be for those teams as well. I should have bumped it up to 10 and given you guys the same question.
Those are
all right,
numbers.
We're going to talk about this game here. Some over-under numbers for today's game. We'll start with you, Miz. Over-under, I guess I could say push if you think it's the exact number. Drew Brees will pass for 275 yards today. Over-under or push?
I'd love to be an optimist here. I really would. But I'm going to go with the under on this one. When you rely too much on 2 specific weapons right now, and those specific weapons are Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. Right now, you're relying too much on Alvin Kamara. You can only he had 14 touches, 14 out of 15 receptions in their loss against the Green Bay Packers. There's too much reliability on him. Emmanuel Sanders has got to step up. Now you got to look at another possibility of wide receiver or look at your other tight end. And at this point, I think you're going to be throwing the ball to Alvin Kamara. Hopefully, Emmanuel Sanders can break out, and you'll probably be handing the ball off a lot to Latavius Murray. I think that this is probably going to be one of the lowest passing games that Drew Brees has in his entire career. I'll take the under.
What about you, Sam?
275. Looking at his stats so far this season, he threw for 312 against the Raiders. He threw for 288 last week. Without Mike Thomas, of course,
and no Jared Cook.
No Jared Cook this week. I gotcha. These are the Lions, though. I know they get Des Trufant back, but at 275 is still a low number. I'm going to go with the over because we're talking about the Lions here. I think he'll get over 275 against this defense that doesn't get a pass rush. That their secondary got a lot of youth in it. They made some plays, but I still think that even with Alvin Kamara, Kamara is probably your number 1 receiving threat that he still will be able to get 275 on the books.
And you, Steve Clark.
Ditto. That's like he read my script or something.
All right, let's flip to the other quarterback in the game today. We'll start with you, Steve Clark. Matthew Stafford will pass for 275 yards, over, under, or I'll throw in push if you think it's the exact number.
Over, because the Saints aren't going to allow the Lions to run. More on that in another question.
Mm-hmm.
But you got Janoris Jenkins not playing. Marshawn Lattimore not playing. Those are your top two corners. Defensive end, pass rusher, Marcus Davenport, trying to play for the first time this season, still isn't going to play. I think this is a tailor-made game for Matt Stafford to have over 300 yards because they're not going to be able to run the ball that well.
Sam?
I'm right there with Steve. I mean, I could, say ditto like he just did me. You also have Kenny Golladay back for, now his second week off of the injured list. And we saw, the chemistry, show up early in last week's game. Again, not gaudy stats, but I'm not surprised by that because it was week one. But against this secondary, like I said, I mean, this is just right for the pickings for those two to really go off. That tandem specifically to go off and have some big numbers. We've seen Hawkinson show up a little bit as well. I just think that because I think the stat that I gave, they haven't given up. I think they're only giving up 100 yards rushing a game. They haven't given up a 100-yard rusher individually in over 45. This is going to be a pass-heavy attack when you talk about the lion's share of their yardage, over 275 for Matthew Stafford this week.
Well, let me add to the fact, too, guys, that the Saints defense, even with those players that were playing, were giving up tons of yardage to an unknown tight end for the Raiders and Darren Waller and Green Bay's backup to Dante Adams. So, I mean, those are two guys right there. I guess the only thing that may be helpful in the Saints category is that Marshawn Lattimore was called for 2 PIs in critical possessions late in the fourth quarter that didn't allow Drew Brees to make a comeback win. He won't be playing, so I guess he won't be making those mistakes.
Man, they like their Buckeyes down there in New Orleans. Good grief. I just now thinking about that, man.
Any optimism in your defense, Miz, to keep Stafford under 275?
I'll take Stafford on the over. I think there's just too many injuries. Jenkins won't be having any PIs in the game, luckily. He got called for 2 in the red zone against the Packers last week. And no Lattimore as well, too. Your 2 starting corners. I think Stafford goes off well over 300.
All right, I actually kind of rewrote the next one. Alvin Kamara will compile at least 150 total yards, over, under, or push. Miz,
I'm gonna go with the over. I think with the combination of being the top weapon in a passing game for today's contest, as well as the top rusher, I think 150 is definitely attainable. I'll take the over on that one.
Steve?
That's a great number, Ira. I know you're being criticized for some of these questions already. I see it on Facebook and Twitter. You're being trounced. But
I'm missing that. Why am I missing that?
You're missing it because I made it up, Sam.
Oh.
Rushing yards, Alvin Kamara is averaging 51. Receiving yards, he's averaging 195. The Quith Max says that's 146. So Ira picked an absolutely great number on this one. I'm going to go with the over on this.
All right. And I had another question for you guys on the running game. This is from the Lions side.
Over. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, Sam, you're going to go over as well? All right. Yeah. And then you talked about this, but I wanted to give you a chance to discuss the running game a little bit more for what the Lions can try to do. Adrian Peterson, Sam, over, under, push 75 yards or more.
Because it's AP. Man, that's a hell of a number. That is a hell of a number. I think volume. I think volume ensures that he'll get 75 yards. I don't think that he'll have a good average. I mean, think about last week where the Lions as a team, we pull up their stats to make sure I got this right. Yeah, as a team, they had 25 carries for 91 yards. 27 of those came on Adrian Peterson's, second play of the game. So I think that because he is the guy and Darrell Bevel said, hey, I'm going to ride him, and the other guys are backups. He essentially said that this week. that he'll get 20 carries, and that'll at least get him 75 yards. But he'll have to grind it out at 2.5 yards 3 yards a carry. That he'll 3.5. I'll give him 3.5 yards a carry. He'll get it done, and he'll get to 75.
Steve, you think Peterson will rush for 75 over under push?
No, I think it's false. I mean, for all the reasons we were talking about in the show about the Saints stopping, the opponent's rushing yards, Adrian Peterson is one of 3 people who will be carrying the ball for Detroit. For him to get 75 yards on his own, it's probably asking a little bit too much. And I saw that M. Victor's chimed in just a couple of minutes ago with this.
He wanted to make you right, Steve.
Yeah, I know. And for that, I just thought I'd give a little shout out to him and to Tom Brady, who is a big fan of this show and in particular this podcast. He may be listening right now. So, hey, Tom, Captain Comeback. Good
game day.
Good to talk.
All right. All right, guys. I got one more over under for you. It wasn't on the list, but it came up as the week was progressing because the Lions have their first ever punter to be the NFC's special teams player of the month. So over, under, or push. Sam Webb, Jack Fox will average at least 50 yards a punt today. He's averaging over 53 yards per punt on the season to this point. So Jack Fox, the Lions reigning punter of the month in the NFC, special teams player of the month in the NFC, he will average at least 50 yards per boot today.
Indoors, at home, don't have to worry about the elements. You gave me the trend, so I'll go true on that. Over. What do you say? Over 50 yards?
Over 50 yards, yeah. What about you, Steve? Over, under, or push for 50-yard punts? What if he has a bunch of punts that he's from right around midfield? He's got to pin them. Could bring that average down.
Point. That's exactly my point. That's why it's going to be under. Thanks, Ira.
You're welcome, Steve.
Exactly.
I'll take the push.
You'll take the push. He's going to average 50?
Yeah, why not?
There you go.
Let's just go 50. He'll find a way to go 50.0 just right on the dot.
All right, we're going to come back and make the picks on the game on the other side. We're going to let Miz come in and join that one. Madison's going to come back and make her pick on the game, and we'll get to that on the other side of the break as we continue on the Sunday Countdown and Kickoff on Sports Talk 1050 WTK The Ticket and on Ticket TV.
Clear.
All right, pick segment is up. Miz, you don't have like a roar, a drop for Madison when she comes in?
I might have to see if I can figure that one out, actually. I have to do something find a way to do it on YouTube or something.
Murray probably heard you say hi earlier.
Ira, just be prepared for an echo if he plays a drop, because I think when he plays it,
they'll come back, yeah.
You'll hear the echo.
Daddy, where's Anthony?
He's not there.
Magic.
What's he doing?
He left. He was just helping to get us started.
Anthony had to go
Are
home.
you guys watching this on YouTube or something?
Yeah, people are watching on YouTube or on where else are they watching? On Facebook,
Facebook and
Periscope. We're on
Michigan
Twitter
Insider.
and WTK.com.
Yep. So
Sherry's watching on. We're watching on Facebook in this house. Steve's watching on Facebook. Dooley was on. Jamie's watching. Jamie's watching on Facebook. Dooley's on Twitter.
I don't think my family's watching at all.
I know. Dooley's on YouTube. Sorry. Theus is on Twitter. And there's Madison. Hi, Madison.
Where's my roar, Miz? Where's my roar, man? That
was the roar to welcome Madison back.
I like that.
Wow.
Yeah, put that on a button bar. I like that. Save that for later.
Not quite what I was looking for, Miz, man.
No.
Appreciate that.
It's an injured lion. We'll just put it that way. How about that?
Do you remember the old DIV broadcast when they were doing George Kell and Al Kaline were doing Tiger games, and when they lost the game, they had the whimpering tiger at the end with the headache pack. Look, that was missed after the Tigers lost.
So Schefter had tweeted out that all New England tests taken again this morning after the negative test on Saturday came back negative again for the second straight day. So that's some optimism, at least.
Optimism.
Yeah.
I think future news is the Detroit Lions don't play next week.
Yeah, I think that I think that all these. Well,
Breaking news.
I think that the one with the Patriots is interesting because it's still, if he tested positive yesterday, he could still be in the pre-incubation period, or could have, these guys could be in the period where it doesn't actually show up yet on their result because it's so, this thing is so weird.
I have hope for the Lions. I do not have hope for this.
Guys, did we not learn this all over again on Friday about, you're most susceptible to giving it to someone else before you even test positive? I mean, these are the things I were hearing on Friday all over again that I was reminded of hearing about in March.
Mike, I don't know the answer to that question. Mike asked if Sirius is still open. I haven't heard anything about Sirius.
I think they are, because I think I just for the purposes of giggles and just wanted to see exactly. Ooh. All right, we're back on radio here in 10 seconds.
What was that exactly, Miz?
That sounded like my stomach. That didn't sound
might be actually.
Miz, are you hungry?
Of course. When am I not hungry? Oh.
Eat a sandwich, Miz. Crying out loud. Eat a sandwich. Do something about that.
Also, my stomach on chili night, too. All right.
All right.
All right. Stand by. Back in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back to Sports Talk 1050 WTK, the Ticket, and on Ticket TV for the Sunday Countdown and Kickoff. If you're not watching on Ticket TV, in particular this last break that we just had, you are missing a lot of entertainment, and we highly recommend watching, whether it's through Facebook or through Periscope on Twitter or through YouTube or on WTK.com/countdown, where you can go to sign up for a chance to win a full car detail from our friends at Brighton Ford. Sign up and watch us online because you will definitely be entertained during the breaks. Miz was entertaining us with some great sound effects for Madison. So appreciate that. Having a lot of fun. We do welcome Madison back into the show. Before we get into the picking of the game between the Lions and the Saints, real quick, final thoughts on key matchups in the game today, Steve Clark.
I'm going to go back to Cam Jordan defensively. I think we obviously know about the cornerback wide receiver situation for the Saints versus the Lions, but Cam Jordan not having a sack this year after having 40.5 over the past 3. Saints defense have got some question marks into this one, and the Lions offense getting Kenny Golladay back is going to help them out.
Yeah, I'm looking at that too, specifically in the red zone. It's Matthew Stafford against their secondary, but the red zone efficiency has got to be better. The Lions thus far in the red zone, 46.2% conversion when it comes to touchdowns. That has got to be better. They get in the red zone, they got to punch it in. Touchdowns, not field goals. Big stat today for the Honolulu Blue and Silver.
So Golladay was back last week, and sounds like pretty good health report for the most part, Steve, for the Lions. Obviously, Michael Thomas's injury for the Saints is the biggest news for this game when it comes to injury report.
Yeah, and when the Saints, again, you're talking about 2 starting corners and Janoris Jenkins, Marshawn Lattimore, Michael Thomas out on offense, Marcus Davenport, defensive end, still not being able to play this season. And Miz said it earlier in the broadcast about their tight end, Dalvin Cook. What's his first name, Miz?
Jared Cook.
Yeah, Cook. He's out. So this is, in terms of the injury matchup, the Lions have won. Now, how it goes on the field is a different situation, because I think the Saints' running game is going to be effective, and the Lions' running game won't be effective in this one.
All right, Miz, we're going to start with you on this one. I want your pick on the game. It is New Orleans at Detroit. The Lions are getting 4 points at home.
So I think that number is actually different. I think when the announcement of Michael Thomas being ruled out in the game, they actually changed that to the Lions getting 3. So that's the updated line, by the way.
Because Ira's spreads are fake. That's why.
No, I just didn't look in the last hour.
But we'll go with
I'm telling you, Ira, my sheet that you gave me on Monday is the sheet that you gave me on Thursday.
We'll go with the Ira Weintraub spread. I think I was hoping that Michael Thomas would have been good to go for this game. Obviously, with the key injuries of 3 defensive players for the New Orleans Saints, Marcus Davenport, Janoris Jenkins, Marshawn Lattimore, you're relying on a lot in your depth on the bench as well too. This is gonna kill me, Sam. You can take this one. I'll take the Lions to pull off the upset at home. Let's go 24-23. 24-23. Lions pull this one off with a last-second Matt Prater field goal. Matt Prater wins games, apparently.
And the reigning special teams player of the month is his holder, so you have
That's
that
true.
going for him as well. All right, we'll use the updated 3-point line, which was it was the updated line from today, and so there is also the over/under for that matter is updated to 54. If you just want to know what the updated numbers are as of the last hour. So there you go. Madison, we'll go to you next since you picked the Lions last week, and that is what gave you a 1-game lead over everybody for in the picks last week. The Lions getting 3 at home from the Mrs. Saints. Lions getting 3 at home. Who do you pick, Madison?
Well, and what did I say? I'm always going to pick the Lions. There we go. Thank you, Ms. I'm always going to pick the Lions because when the Lions win, I'm going to be able to say I picked them. I also always say kickers win or lose games. Prater, baby. That's all I got to say about last week. And I'm picking the Lions again. That's an easy one. Sorry, Miss. I still love you.
All right, Steve Clark, what say you?
Well, now that this game is 3, now I got to think about how I'm going to change the final score because I was liking the different score. So if it's 3, I'm going to go Lions 28, Saints 24. Taking the Lions and the spread.
All right, Sam. The Lions getting 3 at home. Everybody on the panel has picked your Detroit Lions to win the game.
Come on, Sam. You know you want to.
Or at least they win with the points, although I think we're getting 3 outright picks too. But getting 3, we have 3 Lions picks. You are the 4th and final pick. What say you?
Getting 3.
Getting 3.
Getting 3. I'm going to go with the Lions in this game. I just, on the strength of a couple of things, I mean, the injuries are a major overriding factor here. Where it's not just if you were just talking about missing Thomas on one side, but you're maybe I'd still go with the Saints. But on the other side, where both starting corners are out, they don't get a pass rush. Galladay's back, so the Lions are more on the mend. They're more mended overall. I think only one player's out with injury in this game. Want to take the Lions.
All right, I almost see you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe.
Yeah, don't fall for the banana.
Also, I think Sam secretly wants some more Quintricia is actually what it is more than anything.
Not what it is.
Nope.
Well, guys, it's been a lot of and gal. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks to Miz in the studio. Thanks to my guys Sam and Steve who are broadcasting from home. Thanks to Madison on the west side of the state today. Great to see everybody on Ticket TV. Great to talk to everybody on the radio. Enjoy the game. Lions kick off at 1:00. And Sam and I will talk to you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA Ann Arbor, a Cumulus station.
You're clear.